How would you define what happened on 26/11, 9/11, or the London Tube bombings? Terror attack. What about the time when a man opened fire at a Las Vegas concert in 2017, or when a man killed 23 people at a Walmart in El Paso, or what happened at Wisconsin yesterday? You know, a man running his van over Christmas revelers. What would you call these incidents? These are terror attacks too. Wrong, they're not. In America, deliberately running your van over young children, innocent men and women, is branded a crash, at the most a deadly incident. The local police agree not a terrorist event is their take on this incident. Why not a terror attack? Let's try and understand what is a terror attack. A terror attack is the unlawful use of force or violence by a group or person. Here's what authorities in Chicago say. The goal of a terror attack, they say, is to intimidate or coerce societies or governments. The FBI categorizes terrorism into international terrorism and domestic terrorism. Domestic terrorism, it says, is violent criminal acts committed by individuals or groups to further ideological goals. What kind of goals? Domestic, political, social, racial, even environmental. This is what the FBI says. Meaning domestic terror does not need to have anything to do with affiliation to terrorist groups or to a political party. And by that logic, what happened in Wisconsin does qualify as a terrorist attack. It was a violent act. It also happened days after the Rittenhouse case, which was racial, a political matter. Why then is the US media not calling Wisconsin Christmas attack a terrorist attack? Why such carefully worded headlines? Why are they calling it a crash? Is this a double standard? And if it is, it's not the first time the US media is brushing aside a terror attack as a fringe crime. There's a pattern. I just told you how FBI classifies terrorism into international and domestic. It says international terrorism is associated with a terror group or a nation, like state-sponsored terrorism, like 26/11 in Pakistan. So the pattern we have noticed is that every time there is an attack on American soil that can be attributed to an international group or another country, it's quickly called a terror attack. 9/11 terror attack, it was. 1993 World Trade Center bombing, again a terror attack. Even cyber attacks are branded cyber terror when the perpetrator is a foreign national. But the moment an American is involved, the incident is no longer a terror attack. Now look at situations when foreign nationals are involved. The word T is thrown around generously. The 2016 New York and New Jersey bombing, definitely a terror attack. The terrorist name, after all, was Ahmad Khan Rahimi. He was Afghan born. The NBC drew up a terror timeline. The CBS quoted a woman who says that she felt, quote unquote, absolute terror. In 2013, CNN branded Boston Marathon incident a terror attack. The terrorist, FYI, was of Chechen descent. 4 innocents died after he planted a pressure cooker bomb near the finish line. Bombs, rather. 280 people were injured. Now, just for the sake of comparison, consider the Las Vegas attack. 60 people died after Nevada resident Stephen Paddock opened fire at a crowd attending a music festival. The same CNN called it a shooting. Paddock was a white man and an American. So does your passport define whether or not you're a terrorist? Does it have anything to do with being born American? The man who killed 5 at Wisconsin is American. Driving a van over children does not qualify as an act of terror. But not too long back, an Uzbek national drove a rented pickup truck over pedestrians and bicyclists in Lower Manhattan. 8 people died. The New York mayor said the attack was an act of terror. In 2019, when a member of the Saudi Air Force opened fire at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, the FBI called the incident an act of terrorism. 2 months before that, a man called Robert Bowers opened fire at a Pittsburgh synagogue during morning prayers. 11 people died. This incident was branded as shooting by ABC. The New York Times called it a massacre. The terrorist was an American. And I must mention here that exceptions are made for Muslims. Muslims, even if American-born, can qualify as terrorists. In the US media's rulebook, American-born Omar Mateen shot 49 people at an Orlando gay club in 2016. The CNN called it the nation's worst terror attack since 9/11. In 2019, when Patrick Wood opened fire at a Walmart store in El Paso, the incident became a mere shooting and the perpetrator became a suspect. He killed 22 people and injured 23 others. He was an American. So do you get the double standard I'm talking about? This is the state of a country that is spending billions in war against terror outside America. What about domestic terror? Forget fighting it. The US is too shy to even acknowledge it.